everyone, welcome to day one, the premiere of my 13 days of Halloween card series. It's Justine the Twilight Stamper, and we're going to be making 13 different card or 3D gift ideas over the next 13 days. So we're going to start off here by using a piece of masking paper, and I'm using a stitched circle die from Simon Says Stamp. You can use any normal circle die for this, or any die that you have to create a shape. I'm using the stitched circle only because I do not have a regular circle that is big enough to do this, or I would have done that with a normal circle and not the stitched one. I'm going to send this through my die cutting machine. I'm putting this through an A, C, and B plate and throwing it through my Cuttlebug here. And again, this is a masking paper, so this is just going to go over my card base so that I could create a clean and simple card by masking off an area of the card to make a background. So I'm just going to remove the circle that we just cut out here, and I'm going to be using, you can save this circle later for another die cutting project that you might be doing, and I'm just going to take this front piece here and I'm going to lay it over my card base. So to make my card base, I'm starting out with a regular piece of 8.5 by 11 cardstock, cutting it on the short side at 4 1/4 inches, and then I'm going to score it on the long side at 5 1/2 inches. This is going to give me a top folding card that I do in most of my card making. This is the size that I go to. Alright, so I'm going to take my bone folder and I'm just going to fold over this card and give it a nice good crease so that it stays closed. When I need it to stay completely flat while I'm stamping and things like that, then I usually use some magnets or I use some washi tape to hold it down. So I cut this mask here just slightly bigger than my card base, just to make sure that nothing ends up on the white card base. So it measures just slightly bigger, about 1/8 of an inch bigger than 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I like to play it on the safe side and do it that way. Alright, so I'm just going to put that so that the circle is as best as I can in the middle of the card, and I'm just going to take my fingers and really just go along that edge there or around the circle so it doesn't lift up when I'm blending. For my inks today to create the background, I'm going to throw this on my craft mat first. I'm going to be using Cheese Puff and Wild Orchid from Ranger. These are relatively new inks that Ranger came out with, and I love the vibrancy of the colors. They're really fantastic. I don't need all 12, but there were a few that I really liked. I have the cherry red, which is my favorite red so far, this orange, this purple, and then also I'm looking at getting the green and the other purple. Anyway, I'm just going to go in with a light hand and just take the ink and start from the off of the cardstock, like on the masking paper, and work my way into the circle. I'm going to be blending purple and orange, which may not be a color that would normally blend too well together, but I found it worked out really well. I'm using 2 different blending tools. There is no specific reason other than the fact that I just had a sponge handy from a square and one from a circle one. So you can use whatever blending tool you'd like. I'm going to put this on its side. It's just easier for me to blend into the circle. So I just wanted to change the direction of that so it's just easier for my hand to work. It's easier to move the paper than move your hand movement. So that's what I try to do. So I'm just going to come in slowly with the purple and then slowly make my way into the orange. Now you can use any dye ink to do this technique. Distress inks work best to blend, but I find other dye inks it might just take a little bit of longer, but with the patience, some patience, you usually can blend just as well with those as also. So I just really wanted to try these really vibrant colors that reminded me of Halloween specifically when I bought them. So I just kept going back in with the orange and the purple, really just to blend that line there, because I don't want it to be a harsh line between the 2 colors. I wanted to blend them nicely. Now the fun part about masking is always removing your mask and seeing what happened. So you want to lift up carefully. I find with the Simon Says Stamp masking paper, you have to just go slowly and then there'll be no tearing of your original paper. But if you do it really quickly, especially if you push down really hard when you were sticking it down, then it might rip your paper. So just be careful with that. So now you're able to see the awesome circle that we just masked off. I'm going to be using the Witch on a Broom stamp from Susie stamp, sorry, and I'm just going to ink this up with a VersaFine ink. Now originally I was going to use my stamp press to stamp this down, but because it is a solid image and it's my first time stamping it, so it's not seasoned, I was scared that I might get not a really fine impression. So I decided to grab my Misty and then stamp it on there instead. So here's my Misty tool. I'm just going to get everything out of the way so it'll fit on screen, or mostly on screen anyway. I find I started recently filming with my iPad instead of my iPhone, and I find that it actually films more than what's shown on the screen, which is really strange. So I hope that you can see the Misty just fine here. So I'm just going to hold that down with some magnets, put it in the corner. I'm going to put my witch down. It already has the ink on it from before, and I'm just going to put that down there, pick it up with my Misty. So it is going to stamp now because it is already inked up, but normally I would ink that up now for the first time. Now the impression was just fine. It was perfectly black, but I thought I'd just go over it just one more time to give it a really intense black look. And that's what I love about the Misty, is you can stamp over and over again in the same area and really darken that black color. I absolutely love solid images on fun backgrounds that are done with distress inks or the blending technique. I think it looks really great. Next up, I'm going to take the Booyah stamp from Lawn Fawn, and it's from the Booyah stamp set. And I think it's just the funniest stamp set, so I thought I would use this expression or sentiment because I needed a small sentiment for this. I think a big sentiment wouldn't have worked so well. So with the Misty, because I stamped with a cling stamp before, I had to take that foam out. And now that I'm stamping with an acrylic stamp, I can put the foam in just for some extra support and cushion. So I'm just going to push down on that, and I did ink it up twice, and just to give it another coat of black there to make it a little bit more defined. So I'm just going to be using some of these pearls that I have in my stash. They're black. These are from Close to My Heart and retired ages ago, but I just wanted something to add to this card, just to give it a little bit of extra something. I found it needed some sort of embellishment, so I just put 3 of these little pearls on here. I like to use my tweezers to put them down because I get a little bit more accuracy, and I can put them a little bit, usually more straight, unlike that one there. That kind of got away with me, but I find it easier to place them than placing them with my fingers. And that's the end of today's card tutorial. So I hope you enjoyed this day 1 of the 13 Days of Halloween series. We have a lot of fun projects coming up, and I hope you'll stay tuned. It'll be from Monday to Friday, every day until the 13 days are up. So that's the end look of the card. I hope you enjoyed. Any of the supplies that are used in this video are linked below in the video description or on my blog. Here you can click to visit my blog and the supply list up at the top. You can click over on the right to subscribe to my channel on the subscribe button, or you can click on the video that's playing right now to see my latest YouTube video and be taken back to that. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. See you tomorrow.